Hey, deserving listeners, it's time to continue our journey with Ash and Avery on 90 Day Fiancé. Let's watch this show and see if anything of interest comes out of my face.
After the seminar yesterday, I felt Avery's intention was to trying to destroy me because she was destroying me with words. Just pushed me to the edge. And now we are meant to be meeting my son, my ex-wife. And it's actually very frustrating to see her just sit there and not do anything.
Avery, I'm gonna leave right now. If you care, show me something.
I'm trying.
Try harder. Because I have to try hard actually to be able to find a solution sometimes when I'm uncomfortable. Try harder.
And let's talk about it.
I asked you what you
But
want to do.
let's actually.
So as far as I can tell, what's happening is still happening from the last episode, which is that for Ash, he has a lot of worries about losing her. And as she becomes what he perceives as being critical, it really, really hurts him. I imagine he has a tremendous amount of traumas about being humiliated or criticized or rejected or something. Total speculation. I have no idea. But he seems to exhibit that because he's seeing it very black and white. Now, if I were there, I would help Avery to communicate in a way that he might be able to hear. So some of Avery's communication, it's a little bit understandable that he would misinterpret that. Having said that, I think he is reacting to something historical for him as he goes through this. And for Avery, what's happening is that she, from her statements, wants to connect with him, and she interprets, I think accurately, that in order to connect with Ash, her boyfriend, she has to hear from him how he feels about things. Well, what's happening for you on the inside? To not be let in on the inside, one, I either feel like you're rejecting me on purpose, like you just don't want to let me in, or you don't have an inner world, in which case I'm very worried about the status of our relationship moving forward if you don't have inner feelings, because that's the basis of a relationship, is being able to relate to each other and having those kinds of feelings. Now, maybe not for everyone, but I think that's Avery's value. She wants to express her feelings and have the other person express their feelings and feel some kind of connection there. A lot of people are like that. And so from her perspective, she's been trying various different angles, maybe not angles that I would coach her to use, but not terribly dysfunctional. I would say they're okay methods. They could be optimized, I think is a better way to put it, to get in contact with that and to have some kind of conversation. So they're both misunderstanding each other. From his perspective, he just wants her to accept him. I think he desperately wants some message of like, am I an okay person? Because I hear you criticizing me, which brings up these old schemas for me around I'm not good enough for anyone. And she, from her side, she's saying, I just want you to let me into your emotional world. You just went through a difficult time on the seminar. What happened for you emotionally? What's happening for you emotionally right now? Why are you jumping so quick to, I'm destroying you? You know, how come we can't just talk about what happened to you at the seminar and have it go in a casual manner where you just say, wow, I really screwed that one up. I feel humiliated. I don't know what's happening. Thoughts, feelings. And then Avery's like, okay, he has an inner world. One, that's nice to see. And two, he's not being shady and sweeping things under the rug, which concerns me. And three, I have some contact with him. So anyway, let's see how they navigate this.
Talk.
Okay. What do you want to do?
What do you mean, what do I want to do?
Because I love you. Tell me that you love me. Ash, I love you.
Okay, there it is. He has a high level of distress right now. It might not be obvious to everyone, but it's obvious to me. He's really animated. He's really freaking out, if you will. He has a lot of distress, probably due to historical abandonment that he's been through. Total speculation, no idea. But he is desperately saying, tell me that you love me, please, because I don't feel like you love me right now. That's totally functional. There's better ways to ask that, but that's a good message of like in the middle of a fight, just be like, wait. I'm feeling really unloved right now. Can you just reassure me that you love me? Even though we're having this conflict right now, can you just tell me that you love me? Because I feel like that'll really help me to calm down and I'll be able to hear you better. So this is a good impulse. It could be optimized in the way you're saying it, but let's see if Avery capitalizes on this.
I want you to be here. I don't want you to go away. Voice it.
You know what the first words were out of your mouth when you came to talk to me?
You hurt me.
No, you're heartless. Do you think that it's okay to approach people with "you're heartless" and then expect them to listen to you?
Okay.
So it makes total sense that she's hurt and angry about him saying that, in addition to a number of other things that he said. That isn't the optimal time to bring it up, though. So if I were there, I'd be like, okay, Avery, I hear you, but could you, let's get to that for sure. That was very hurtful, what he said. But let's address what he just said. He just said, please reassure me that you love me. Please tell me that you want to be with me because I'm freaking out right now. Can you reassure him? And then Avery is given a chance. I don't know how she feels, but if she feels love for him and some dedication to him, which I'm guessing she does, I don't know, she would say something like, yeah, I do love him and I do want to work this out. Okay, Ash, does that make you feel any better? And Ash would be like, well, yeah, I guess so. Okay. So Ash, great. You in the middle of a fight, you needed some reassurance. You asked for it. Avery, great. You reassured him. Great. Okay. Subject number 2, Avery. You wanted to talk about that heartless statement. Let's talk about that. What happened for you in that moment? Well, it's just bullshit that he said that. No. How'd you feel? Well, it hurt my feelings. Okay. Ash, did you mean to hurt her feelings like that? Did you really mean that, or were you escalated in your distress hormones that you said something that you didn't really mean? Your choice, Ash. You tell me. Most people say, I didn't really mean it. I was feeling like she was heartless, but I know that she's not heartless, and I shouldn't have said that. Could you apologize, Ash? Sure. Avery, I'm sorry I said that. Avery, do you accept his apology? Yes. Okay. That's what I'd be doing right now. They both have valid things. This is what people do a lot in conflicts, is they both have very valid feelings that should be recognized and validated and supported and apologized from the other person. But they both do it at the same time without doing one at a time. Okay, you first. Reassure me that you love me. Okay, I reassure you. Okay, now me. You called me a heartless B word earlier. Apologize. Okay, I apologize. Okay, next thing. Instead of all at once and no one gets their needs met. So this is not optimal.
No matter how much he wants to say, I love you, I want to work through things, he was extremely worked up and childish when he walked in. And I don't want that at all in a partner.
When I came in, I was very defensive with you, and I said something that I should not have said. And I do apologize for that.
Thank you.
Great. Excellent, Ash. You made the first move. You apologized. Would like it to be a little warmer from the apology standpoint, but that was a great start. So great job, Ash.
But I really was hurt. So right now, I understand where you're coming from. And if you allow me, I will tell you about things that may be bothering me. And you tell me how you feel about me sharing that to you.
Okay.
Okay? If we want to make this work, we're just very honest to each other.
I'm trying to figure out a lot of things right now. Maybe I need to approach things differently. And I'm just hoping that we have constructive conversation. That's all I ask.
Oh, I totally would like to do that too.
Okay.
So it's good. They're de-escalating. They're agreeing. Look, I want to be able to communicate about these things. So that's a good sign. I don't know if they have an effective way of doing that, though. They are saying, well, let's bring this down. We're both saying we want to work on things. But do they have an effective way of working on things is the question.
Are you ready to get up?
Let's go meet up with Tasha and Xian.
Great. Hug each other. Hold each other's hands. Reach out to each other physically during a fight or after a fight. It's one of the best antidotes to any escalated negative fight situation. It has a physiological response, which has an effect on the brain, which has an effect on your mood, which has an effect on the way you see things, which has an effect on the way you come across to each other. When I'm treating couples on my couch and they reach out to each other and they hold each other's hand, or someone puts their hand on someone else's knee or something, I know that things are going to be okay between the two of them. The ability to reach out physically. Now, for some of us, it's really hard for us to do that because we're very hurt. We have a lot of historical relational traumas that prevent us from being vulnerable or from being inspired to do that. So, but if you can do that, this is great.
It's clearly like there's tension between us.
Well, I feel like there was so much that was so unresolved in that situation. Honestly, I just really want my own room tonight to just take some time to process some things. It's okay.
Why are we doing that right now, actually? Just, you come here, now you're deciding you need your time, which is very selfish right now.
So I totally get that Ash would be hurt by that. It's a pretty significant move. Now, I get where Avery's coming from, too. They've just had a really tough 24 hours where she's seen a lot of things, the seminar, the fighting, calling her heartless, and all sorts of other things. It makes sense that she would want some distance and clear her head with getting her own hotel room. It also makes sense that Avery would be very hurt by that and very worried that he might be losing her because she's doing that. And then they have those secondary emotions of anger, and then he says these things like, "You are selfish." Those kinds of statements come from a place of anger, which comes from a place of hurt and fear. I wish that Avery were in touch with those feelings and could communicate those more effectively and know them more effectively. You know, to slow down and be like, okay, what's happening with me? Okay, I want to call her selfish. It's probably not a good move. What's going on? What's going on with me? Well, I'm probably hurt and I'm probably afraid. Okay, why would I be hurt and afraid? Well, because she wants to stay in a hotel room and I don't want to lose her. And it hurts that she would reject me in that way. Okay, well, what do I say? Own the feelings. Okay, Avery, I want to call you selfish, but I'm not going to do that because that's not fair. But what I will tell you is that what you're doing right now is really hurting my feelings. I feel like there's been a lot of hurt lately. I'm just telling you how I feel. I don't know if it's justified. I don't know if it's your fault. I don't know if it's my fault. I don't know. All I know is right now I feel really hurt. I feel really afraid I'm going to lose you. And I don't want to stop you from getting your own hotel room if that's your choice. But could you reassure me again that you like me and that you care about me, because I'm starting to lose hope in our relationship, something like that. Now, Avery might not be able to say those things, but at least that'd be more of a direct ownership of your feelings and give Avery a chance to reassure him. Because I'm guessing if he did that, one, she would reassure him because she cares, but two, it would be that information that she needs to know, like, oh, you have an inner world and you have emotions and you care and you're like me. I can relate to you. You have thoughts and feelings that I understand and I feel closer to you now.
We fix things together. We don't separate.
It doesn't mean that I don't care about you, because I do care about you. But I don't think that we're resolving much right now. And that's why I wanted to have my own room tonight, so I can come into the situation better.
Okay, but you know what? Do that. Yeah, do that.
Now, I will say from Avery's side, it's unclear if she's dedicated to the relationship right now. If she's got 9 toes out of the door, maybe she's just biding her time while the cameras are filming because she's going to leave him tomorrow or in a couple of days or something, who knows. But if she is dedicated to the relationship, which I think there's a possibility that she is, then there's another way of delivering this, of saying, so what's going on with me right now is I'm hurt of the things you said. I'm hurt that you get defensive. I'm concerned and worried about the sexist statements you were saying yesterday in the seminar. I'm worried about our relationship, and I'm having a lot of feelings right now. And I just want to get my own room because of that. I realize that that is very hurtful to you. And I realize that I am doing something that would be very concerning to you too. And I apologize for that. I don't want to make you feel afraid, but I do need this. So there's a different way of delivering it to account for someone else's feelings. It takes two to tango. When I see couples, I try to avoid blaming one person or the other. I just say, like, look, you're both here to work on the relationship. Here are things that both of you can do to improve things.
This is a tough moment to swallow. I'm trying to build trust with you, and right now you're breaking that trust again. I'm agreeing for her to meet my ex-wife and my son. I deserve better than this situation right now.
So that's an interesting statement. I deserve better than what's happening right now, or something along those lines. I deserve better. That points to historical traumas around not getting what he deserved. Total speculation. While I'm on the topic, take everything I say about these people with a grain of salt, because I haven't met them and I'm only getting what the show is showing us. Also, subscribe if you haven't yet. Hit the bell if you haven't yet. Comment below if you haven't yet, or even if you have. Like this video if you haven't yet. Also, become a patron on Patreon and subscribe to the podcast on your podcatcher on your phone. All right, let's continue watching.
Take her.
Where are you gonna go?
I'm gonna go and see Taj. Take her. Sleep tight.
All right, I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Now, I will also give kudos to Ash for hugging and kissing her as she was about to go to the hotel room. He could have manifested his anger and puffed and said, get out of here, and, screw you. But he wanted to do that. That also points to a tremendous amount of attachment need that I think he has. Everyone has. I think both Avery and Ash have that. And that points to how when that's threatened by negativity from her, that he switches to this other mode of just like anger and distress. I think there's a very warm part of Ash that is upheld when, and in previous episodes I was hypothesizing that he has a schema involving negativity, in that the world taught him that the world is negative in some way. And the way he coped with that early in life was to overcompensate and try to deny all negativity and to try to be positive all the time, because that helped him survive his early years as a person. And then when anyone is negative at all, he interprets it as very negative and very threatening, because when he was a kid, there were a lot of negative things maybe happening. Or maybe someone had a very negative way of looking at things or something. And so he fights against anything negative all the time. And it kind of, he exhibits that a lot. He's an extremely positive person. And when he's left to his own devices, he's very cordial and very nice and very, it's hard, I'm guessing, to be negative around him because he is so positive. Total speculation just based on the little bit that the show is showing us. Anyway, let's continue watching. Anyway, I just want to give kudos to Ash for being functional in that moment of hugging her and kissing her. All right. Well, that does it for that episode of Psychology in Seattle, in which I watched 90 Day Fiancé and we followed Ash and Avery's story. Tune in next time when we continue with their story. And everyone out there, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.